thank you for joining me for today's practice. So today is a hip and spine gentle, practice that we'll be doing just on the mat. So we won't come up to standing today. So just make sure that you're nice and comfortable. I've got a folded up blanket here. You might want to have something like that. It might be quite nice for a couple of the poses. If you don't have that, you could also maybe have like a block or something like that. So when you're ready, we're going to make a start. So let's come into a seated position. We're going to come into our Vista Kunasana or butterfly. And this is somewhere you might want to use your blanket and just take a little bit of a higher seat. It can just help you to lift the hips up a little bit. If it's more comfortable for you to start with your feet a little bit further away, this is also somewhere if you need a bit more support, you could put some cushions or some blocks or something underneath here. You're just finding a position that feels right for you. And once you're ready, you just press the hands down onto the ankles. And we're just thinking about the legs opening out. So don't worry if they're not touching the mat, or it's not important. We're just going to start to open up through the hips here. When you feel comfortable to do so, let's close down the eyes. Just picturing the length of the spine. So all the way from the base to the tailbone, the sacrum, the lower back, to the middle back, the upper back, and the neck. Just feeling the energy lift up and out through the crown of the head as the hips ground down. Just noticing your breathing, just noticing your natural breath. And then starting to extend into your breathing, slowing down the inhale and slowing down the exhale. Checking in with where you're at today. And let's tune into our sankalpa. Repeating it to yourself 3 times in the present tense. And each time we visit our sankalpa, we strengthen our resolve. Just really listening in to what it is you'd like to bring into your life. What is truly important to you. And we're often pulled in so many different directions. And our sankalpa just really provides an opportunity to provide just a point of focus, just a guide. So we can let anything unnecessary fall away. Just the last few moments here. Coming back to the breathing when you're ready. And then blinking open the eyes. Just extending the legs out away for a moment. Just give the legs a little bit of a wriggle out. Just coming off your block or your blanket and making your way down onto your tummy. So you're going to lie all the way down and legs can be hip distance apart. Opening the elbows out and stacking one hand on top of the other and then resting your head down onto your hands. And close down the eyes. Just allowing the whole front surface of the body to relax into the mat. Just relaxing the legs. Just feeling into the weight of the whole body. And now we're going to take just a little wriggle of the hips from side to side. And we're just going to do this for probably just about a minute or two. We just want to relax the hips as much as we can. Really just using momentum here to let the hips wriggle from side to side. So finding a little bit of mobility through that lower back, through the hip joints. Just allow the breath to be easy. Just another few breaths here. Trying to keep the muscles of the legs and the glutes as soft as you can as well here. And then slowing it down until you come to stillness. Just take a moment just to feel into the body. And then making sure that the legs are hip distance apart. Let's bring the knees, let's fold the legs up, I should say. And we're going to take a windscreen wiping action with the legs. Then I drop the feet over to the right, come back through center, drop the feet over to the left. And again, inhale through center, exhale to the right. Inhale through center, exhale to the left. So again, really trying to keep the muscles quite relaxed and just finding some mobility, exploring our range of motion with this movement. Try to relax into the lower back. This last couple, side to side. And then coming back to center, releasing the legs out long and just taking a few moments, the legs long here. Just noticing any feedback in the body. This feedback as in sensations. And then let's start to transition into our Sphinx pose here. So we want to bring our elbows underneath the shoulders, press the palms, the hands down, and reach the sternum forward. And just for this variation, let's be pretty relaxed in the legs. Like we want the legs to feel long, but let's not overactivate the backs of the legs like we might in a different version of this pose. Just a little bit of reaching of the tailbone in between the feet, just to lengthen the lower back. Just taking another 2 breaths here. And now let's bend into this right leg, reaching back with the right hand and bringing that foot in towards the bottom. So now we're going to start to be a bit more active with this back foot, and you can start really press into that left forearm, bringing that foot in towards the bottom. And this might be plenty for you. Feel free to stay here, or if you can, taking hold of the inside of that right foot and bring it in. Maybe for some, you can come onto the top of the foot, place the palm down and start to swivel the fingers to point forward so that right elbow points up. Activate through that left leg, reach the sternum forward and just find the breath here. One more full breath. And then let's release the leg so it moves away from us. We're still holding the inner edge of that right foot, and you might just stay here trying to kick that right leg back so you come into a bit more of a spinal extension here. And if it feels comfortable to do so, you might be able to straight into that left arm. Keep kicking that right leg back. Reach the tailbone back towards the back edge of the mat. Relax the shoulders away from the ears. Taking one more inhale. And then as you exhale, very gently release, coming down into your Sphinx. And then hands underneath the shoulders, press back into your child's pose. If it's possible, bring the knees together, but if not, keep the knees wide, sitting the hips back, reaching the hands forward, forehead coming down to the mat. Just decompressing the lower back. And then shift the weight forward into your tabletop position. Separate the knees so they're hip distance apart. Long through the spine. Just taking a few rounds of CatCow here. Inhaling to curve the spine down, lifting the eyes, and then exhale. Trying to articulate through each part of the spine as you C-curve, tucking the chin in, pressing the middle part of the spine, the lower back towards the ceiling, and then inhale and exhale. Just one more round, just in your own time. And releasing back to neutral. Make your way back down onto your belly, coming into your Sphinx pose once again. So elbows underneath the shoulders, palms pressing down, legs hip distance apart. So reaching the tailbone back in between the feet. And then let's bend this left foot in towards us, reaching back in hold from the outside, trying to bring the foot in. And I should have said this on the other side. If you need more support, you could turn your forearm this way. It is more challenging having the forearm pointing forward. If it's possible, hold the inner edge of that left foot and same action, just trying to draw that left foot in. And maybe for some, coming to the top of the foot and rotating the fingers to point forward so that left elbow points up. Keep pressing down into that forearm. Keep breathing. Activate through that right leg so the right kneecap lifts off as the tailbone reaches back. One more full breath. And then release that left leg away. Keep holding the inner edge of that left foot and then start to kick that left leg back. So you're lifting up a little bit higher into your back extension, either staying on your forearm or maybe starting to straighten into that right arm. Shoulders away from the ears. Keep that tailbone reaching back towards the back edge of the mat. Taking one more inhale and then exhale. Releasing down, gently release the foot. Hands underneath the shoulders. Pressing yourself back into your child's pose. Knees together if you can. Reaching the arms forward. Just one more full breath here. And then coming back into your tabletop, separate the feet and the knees hip distance apart, tucking the toes under and coming into your down facing dog. Pressing down through the outer edges of the feet and lifting the hips up towards the ceiling. Rotating the armpits to face into one another a little bit and then trying to lengthen out through both sides of the waist. Steady gaze with the eyes. And then looking forward towards the hands, we're going to bring this right knee towards that right wrist and walking that left foot back. So we're moving into our half pigeon here, releasing the top of the left foot down. Feel really free to keep this right heel close into the groin, especially if you've got any knee things happening here. You don't want to force that. If it's available, you might come out a little bit further. Just see what works. If you've got your blanket and you want to take a little bit more support, or if your hips are really lifted up, you can pop a blanket underneath your hip and that can be a really lovely variation to help you in that pose or this pose. So let's just stay upright for a few moments, pressing down through the top of that left foot as you lift up through both sides of the waist. Taking an inhale, and then as you exhale, starting to come down. You might just be down in your hands or onto your forearm. Option to just stay forward and resting all the way down if that feels good for you. Or alternatively, you can start to come into a twist. So we're going to bring this left forearm over towards that right knee and starting to turn the shoulders towards the right. This might feel like it's plenty for you. If you'd like to go a little bit deeper, we're going to thread this left arm down and then start to rest the head down. You can walk that right hand forward. A little bit of activity through this right leg, so flexing that right foot slightly and just pressing through the outer right shin down onto the mat. Just find the breath wherever you are. Maybe closing down the eyes if that feels good. One more full breath. And then gently starting to come out of the twist if you're here. And then everyone's starting to walk your hands upright, tuck the back toes under and make your way back into your down facing dog. Just take your time. Find your down facing dog. And if you feel like you need to pedal out the feet or anything like that, feeling free to do so. One more breath in your down facing dog. And then looking forward towards the hands and bringing that left knee towards the left wrist. Just coming down to that right leg and walking that right foot back. Taking your variation here, maybe bringing the heel in towards the groin or popping that blanket underneath that left hip. And then taking a few moments here upright. So we want a little bit of activity. So just especially when we come down, when we're over-sickling or overstretching the outer side of that left foot. Taking an inhale and then exhale, starting to come down, maybe onto the forearms, maybe resting all the way down onto the mat. If you'd like to come for the twist, we come bringing that right forearm over towards this left knee, starting to turn the shoulders towards the left. And then perhaps if you would like to, threading that right arm down, resting down onto that right shoulder as you extend that left arm forward. Option to close down the eyes. Just breathing into that rising sensation in the body, particularly that outer left hip. Just noticing if you can soften anywhere or if you need to back out. Let's just take one more full breath. And then if you're in the twist, gently starting to make your way back to center, and then everyone starting to come back upright, tucking the back toes under, making your way back into your down facing dog. Just taking a couple of moments here in your down dog. And then let's come down onto the knees, coming up to a seated position and opening the legs out wide, just coming into your Vista Kunasana. Again, this is somewhere where you could sit up on a blanket or a block. This can be a really lovely way to just help lift the hips up a little bit, and that just gives you a bit more tilt in the pelvis if you can elevate your hips a bit. Taking an inhale, and then as you exhale, let's slide the right hand down the right leg and take the left arm up and over, turning the eyes to look up towards the ceiling. And grounding down through that left hip bone. And then taking an inhale, coming up through center, sliding that left hand down the left leg now. Right arm comes up and over. Again, turning the eyes to look up towards the ceiling. And this time pressing down through that right sitting bone. Really opening up through that right side body here. Especially into that lower back region. This particular muscle called quadratus lumborum. That attaches to the base of the ribs to the top of your pelvis. And then taking an inhale, coming upright. And then as you exhale, starting to come forward. And we're just tuning in, listening into what does my body need, where is my body at right now. Maybe you're staying upright, maybe that's plenty. And after a few breaths, you might find that you can just start to move in a little bit further or just staying with where you're at. Trying to stay active through the legs here, so pressing down through the backs of the legs as the feet flex, toes up towards the ceiling. It's our tendency is to roll inwards with the legs or roll outwards, depending on your range of movement. And we're thinking about the belly trying to reach down rather than the head coming down first. Just one more full breath. And then taking an inhale to walk the hands back upright. Just using your hands, bringing the legs together. Just making your way down onto your back. And then from here, let's just lift the hips up slightly over to the left. Knees together, lifting up, and then dropping over. Opening that left arm out to the side, right hand on top of the left thigh. Just closing down the eyes. If you'd like to turn the head to the left, feel absolutely free. Thinking about that outer left hip moving away from the left shoulder. And then inhaling, coming back through center. Place the feet down so we can reset. Take the hips slightly over to the right. Lift the legs up and dropping the legs over to the left. Opening that right arm out to the side. And head can stay looking straight up, eyes closed, or turning the head to the right. Having a sense of giving into gravity now. And releasing the jaw. Trying to soften the back of the neck. Outer right hip moving away from that right shoulder. And then taking an inhale, coming back to center. Center the hips. Bring the knees in towards the chest. It's either holding either shin, forearms or elbows, just squeezing in. Pressing the back of the pelvis down onto the mat. Shoulders move away from the ears. Take an inhale. Just stay for the exhale, try to squeeze in a little bit more. And then inhale to open everything out. Coming into your Savasana. Making yourself nice and warm. Any adjustments that you need to make yourself comfortable. Closing down the eyes. Let's take a deep breath in through the nose and out through the mouth. And again, deep breath in through the nose, out through the mouth. Just allowing the breath to settle back into its natural rhythm. Just completely surrendering the weight of the body and resting here for the next few minutes. And please feel free to stay resting here if you'd like to. Otherwise, let's start to deepen into the breathing. Deep breath in, filling the whole body from the tips of the toes to the crown of the head. And exhaling, just allowing everything to soften a little bit more. Let's once again inhaling, filling the whole body. And exhale to soften. Bringing a little bit of movement into the fingers and toes. Just bending one leg up at a time and rolling over onto the side of your choice. Just taking a moment, lying on the side. And then making your way up to a seated position. Just keeping the eyes closed for the last few moments. Just very lightly continuing to follow the breathing. Bringing the palms of the hands together in front of the chest. Bowing the head down towards your hands. Just acknowledging your effort to be here and practice. Thank you so much for joining me. Namaste.